We are PodcastVideos.com. Our goal is to educate, enlighten, engage, and entertain. We believe in the power of love and transformation through storytelling.
We are back. It's another episode of Story Scaling, and we have here today, we're going to call him an industry expert. Some of us call him boss. Actually, we don't call you boss that often.
No, nobody ever says that to me.
This is Eric Howerton. He is the founder and CEO and whatever other title he chooses, really, here at PodcastVideos.com.
It's nice to choose titles, Dan.
It is.
That's the one value of being an entrepreneur. You get to choose your own title. I mean, that's
you get to choose the titles for everybody, and you change your mind on that
true.
because I think I have 3 right now.
No, you do. You have about 3, maybe 4. Maybe 4.
It depends on which email I'm using.
Now you're an anchor, so...
Host, I believe.
Well, I'm not calling you an anchor, though. So that's the power of being able to choose titles right there.
No, I've known Eric for like 20 years, and that is actually kind of a dig because we are both old newspaper guys, and he just called me a TV type.
I did. Congratulations, man.
Well, I would say, why are we here? But we already told him we came out of newspapers. Not really a growth industry.
That's true.
Which is how we got into podcasts. Not very directly, for sure.
Yeah, it was a long time to get here. But we had to navigate, the decline of the industry that we decided to get into when we were younger and see the writing on the wall a little bit with that.
Well, and then you had to start about 5 or 6 other businesses and start some and close some and sell some, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that, to that point is like, I think it's a testament to really about every industry that's going on right now. What we had to do in seeing kind of print journalism starting to phase out as the internet became more popular and people could get their information online, and as the print journalism, outlets started to kind of creep online very slowly in resistance.
They were not happy about it.
Not happy. But I think it's a testament of just like how industry changes. And, why, I particularly made a lot of rapid, fast changes, back in the day. As I was a photojournalist taking pictures at the newspaper, really realized like, hey, back then it was like magazines are becoming more popular, because of the gloss paper and all that type of stuff.
That would have been a big miss.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you did that.
Yeah. Well, whenever I was in school, like we were learning like black and white photography, and black and white print.
Did you ever do paste up for pages with actual X-Acto knives and glue? And then they gave us the computer and like, try it on this. Oh, that was fun.
And it was hard to make those adaptations, and I think that there's one thing that I can look back and say that I was proud to do is like I was really quick to embrace, the new things coming out. And I just kind of, I don't know, maybe it was part about being excited about that, or it was interesting and cool or fun, or, I could see a future. That's one thing that I did do was I adapted really quickly to what was going on. And I think it's a testament as to what we're doing as we're talking, video podcasting versus just podcasting.
Sure. We're sitting here in what would normally have been called sort of a radio setting.
Right.
But thanks to the internet, Eric, they can see us.
They can see us now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the advent, with, as these smartphones, and the social media sites started, using more video. I think the reality is that if you're a business or if you're a journalist or whatever you're doing, understanding the power of video, because people, somebody said it just even yesterday, they don't even listen to audio podcasts anymore. They want to watch the expressions of the hosts, the people talking.
And that's another thing podcasting is not exactly new. Even the newspapers tried it again, very stumblingly.
Yes.
I may have just made up a word there.
That's great.
But podcasting was an audio-only medium forever. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we've added cameras.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not everybody has made that jump yet, although it's obviously becoming a huge thing. The fact that YouTube is like the single biggest podcasting platform now.
Yeah.
They've blown away the typical audio-based stuff for discoverability, for views.
Mm-hmm.
Why video?
Man, I can back that up to all right, look, such a complicated topic. We could, that we could have this dialogue for hours upon hours. But
I did tell him we have a time limit.
We do have time limits. But I always back up things to just the human nature, right? Even in the advent of AI, and as AI accelerates, there's always the purchasing power, at least today, and I think in the near future, is going to be coming down to, that human connection. How does the human response happen? Whether I see an ad or whether I see, it doesn't matter. It's all about how that human reacts and makes that decision to either buy something, listen to something, subscribe to something, whatever it might be. And so when we think about communication, like whenever we're talking, like, just our relationship one-on-one, if I'm talking to you on the phone, I can only get the audio. I can only understand what you're saying. But communication is more than that. It's the tone of what you're saying. And it's also the expressions that you're making as you're saying it. And so,
there are some conversations, Eric, you don't want to see what the expressions on my face.
Exactly. That's why I want to have a one-on-one with you in person so I can see those expressions. And, in human beings, our expression to the way that we're saying it, to what exactly we're saying, all those can, compound to allow me to receive that information correctly, and for me to really engage in that. And then it's not just that first time, but it's every single time that we're communicating. So the power of video, in my opinion, gives the closest that we can have without being in person, but I can see your expression and I can hear that tone, and all those things combined for me to receive the information.
There's body language.
Total body language. There's all of that, and then not only just the first time, like, for example, putting it into like a show, but if I watch you on this show and the first time I see it, now I can put a face to the name, I can put a face to the voice, I can see your expression, I can see your body language. And then the next time you roll out, is it consistent? And so now, as a subscriber or a listener or a viewer, I'm starting to build this relationship with you, unbeknownst to you as the host. And so, like, over time, I actually feel like I get to know you, even though you don't get to know me. But there's this one-way relationship that I'm building over time, and so you're building this credibility and this trust with me, emotionally.
We've got a piece on the website, actually. By the time this is out, it'll be up on the psychology of relationships with podcasters.
Yeah.
You sound like a great client on a business side. If you know me, you trust me. But watch this again, Eric. It does sound a little stalkerish if people take it too far.
Yeah, it does.
It's a thing.
But everything about communication is psychology, and I think that what I see and what I think we see as a team, the psychology of video, the power of video is in that psychological relationship building thing. And so whether you're a business or you're trying to start your own show, having video component is just really enabling that psychology. And that's the long form side of it, right? But even on the short form side, like when you send out clips on your social channels and you get to see me repetitively, over and over again, even these small little clips, like I'm seeing Dan and I hear Dan, see Dan, I hear Dan. And over time, I'm sort of like, man, who's this dude that's on my roll that's coming up, popping up all the time? Well, I might eventually click in, and then I'm now engaged with your topic and conversation.
Sure. And you kind of teed up the segue nicely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a business side case to be made for video,
yeah.
Even if you're an audio podcast, which is still the vast majority of them, although it's trending quickly toward folks that are putting out an actual video of the podcast as it's recorded, similar to what we're doing here. But the folks that are still just on audio, they put out the podcast, they still have to promote it. They still have to put their name out there in advertising and marketing and social media channels. We don't have a whole lot of clients that do strictly audio here.
Right.
I believe we have one now. We did, and then he upgraded to the video.
Yep.
I think we got a new audio client.
Yeah, we did.
But the point is, even if you don't put this video out, take the video.
Yeah.
Chop it up, and suddenly you have your social media posts, you have your marketing materials, you have your advertising B-roll. The video has a business side value beyond simply being a visual representation of the conversation we're having.
Absolutely. Like if I was to come to this studio, the value that you get for the little bit of extra investment you make on having video in there, take it, even though you may not be using it right now, but go ahead and take it, because the investment to it, that collateral, that equity that you have in that video, that shelf life is going to be valuable for forever.
It's maybe not evergreen, but it is very long-term usable.
Very long-term.
It's not something that's going to have an expiration date on it that's quick.
That's right. And it has more repurposing value to it. You know, I mean, just a good case in point is that if I only do audio only, and then I'm putting it across all the podcast networks, and then I put it on YouTube's audio only part, like I'm missing that.
Yeah, you might have a thumbnail or a static piece of art there, but it's good for your discoverability, but it's not as good as having the video.
Absolutely. And then to your point in social media, we know through analytics and statistics that like if you put just an audio feed only on LinkedIn or whatever, the engagement rate to that is not as high as if you have a video.
It's not even close.
Yeah. And so why not do it? You know, I think that we kind of I think that the power of video is being enabled by the ability of the social channels allowing for video and the cell phones allowing that bandwidth and being able to crunch files down in more loadable speeds. You know, all that stuff, that technology just continues to increase. And I mean, look, man, I mean, hardware itself is going to continue to increase. Cell phones capacity.
You can put out a pretty decent video
Absolutely.
podcast with a high quality cell phone camera.
Totally.
You know, a little bit of maybe an add-on mic for better quality, but it's not hard.
Yeah.
What scares people about video is the editing process. It's a very specialized set of tools, depending on what you use, DaVinci, Adobe. You either know it or you don't, and it's a steep learning curve.
It is.
This is the shameless plug. We can edit it too.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's what, you know, we're trying to do here is like if you sum up podcast videos, our job is to reduce that friction. Pre-production, production, and post-production in the setting of these shows, right? And being able to get your show, you know, when I say show, it's either you have a media outlet just as an individual, or you're a business. That you, as a business, everyone on the planet, business and personally, can become their own media. And so that's what I call a show.
You can have a video-backed high quality audio conversation of some sort. That's not even necessarily a podcast.
Yeah.
It could be webinar. It could be online curriculum. These are all things.
Job training.
We're exploring. We're looking to expand into, because it is, in a broader look, it's audiovisual.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's how people are consuming information. And the reason why they're consuming information, that's going to continue to accelerate, is because of that human psychological benefit. I can get so much more out of watching a video than I can reading a textbook or reading a white paper or whatever it might be. But I can watch and consume that video. I can just listen to them on drive, or I can sit there and watch it, you know, on my couch. It doesn't matter. It's versatile. The
video can be used passively, but it's pushing out into YouTube and that. You may not be looking at the video, but the video is there in the background, even if you're listening to it. That's on the audio side.
Yeah. So if I create a video asset, all my options and availability for all forms of communication are present, versus if I just write an article where I only have this one vein, and that printed or that written, environments can only be achieved there, but video can achieve all of them. And you can take that video, you can cut it down, you can create a written only, piece to that article, and you can cast that out. And so it just multiplies on everything that you can do.
He's wondering why I'm smiling at him.
I am.
I named this episode, at least in our internal calendar, as Soapbox.
Yes.
And now we know why.
There's Eric's Soapbox. There we go. I mean, you can just, like, it's like anything. Like, why would you, like if it's like going to the grocery store and saying you're going to make one meal and your plan is to make that one meal. But if you buy a little bit of extra ingredients, now you have the ingredients to make other meals.
And different people grocery shop different ways.
That's right.
That's where we get into the analytics of the videos and some of the other things we do, which we're not diving into right now. We don't have the time.
Sure.
Now, in closing, I need you
already
to...
stopping? Just unfortunate.
Well, there's another good segue, because your episodes tend to run well over the usual hour when you and Mark Zweig do your big talk about small business. So we're going to close with the old Bosley Hair Club for Men riff. You remember what it was? I'm not just a founder. I'm also a client.
Oh, yes, that is true. I am a client. We do have a weekly show we've been doing for about a year and a half now. I think we're over 60-something episodes with big talk about small business. And that was definitely intentional. Like, I was our first client, basically, because I wanted to see, on the host side and putting on a show, like what are my needs, right? I mean, like what all can I not do, or what all do I not have the time to do? And so making sure that I understood the client's perspective, but then I also like to watch the team and how we execute and how we're improving.
It's either cheating or genius or both. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, a little bit of both, I think. I'd like to, but I mean, but the reality to it is it has improved, and that's, that makes me feel really, taken care of from a host side of when the team, comes out and lays those show notes and gives us a format and we get some more direction and structure. It just makes the show better. It makes me feel like that my investment and my, what I'm paying is worth the value back. And then that way, at the end of the day, if I can be a host and I can have all this stuff taken care of for me, that allows me to focus on the content. It allows me to focus on the guests that are coming in, which is the important essence of me putting on the show.
You may be better at it than you think. Mm-hmm. We did about 15 seconds of prep with no show notes right here, and we're holding it together pretty
well. Yeah, no, exactly. You just become a little bit more natural as it is you go on. So
great. We'll figure things out on the business side, and you're already a pretty good client.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
All right, guys, that's Eric Howerton, our founder, CEO, the man who signs our checks. I'm Dan Kraft, and this has been Story Scaling. We'll see you next time.